Today in the crypto space, we see some green price action throughout the market. Bitcoin right around 109,000 and pushing to higher levels. Ethereum back above the $2,500 mark, up approximately 6%, carrying the altcoins to much higher levels. As you can see, we have some major gainers today. We have Cardano waking up. We have Sui, AVAX. A lot of the large L1s are definitely waking up. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk about a project that is definitely quiet at the moment, and there's a lot of news hanging around this project at the current moment, and it's called QUBIC. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins. Looking for opportunity, whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 8 p.m. EST, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's see what's going on with this market. I do want to talk about QUBIC today because at the end of the day, I believe that QUBIC is at a level where it's kind of going stagnant, and there's a bit of drama, let's say, hanging around the QUBIC, camp at the current moment. We'll definitely touch base on that and see how it affects price, and ultimately, how is it going to affect any of that volatility yet to come. So in addition, guys, let's quickly look at what's going on here. We do see that the general market right now is looking great. We have the market cap right now doing great. We saw the total market cap here get a nice impulsive move to the upside. It is up 1%. It is around $3.5 trillion, which is awesome. And we can see that not only did we make a higher high, but it is higher is backed by volume. An increase in volume with a nice spike to the upside is a great indication to me that the market is interested in this move. Now, is it going to be sustainable? Is it enough volume? Guys, nobody knows. Nobody knows what the future holds. But I tell you this is a good indication of a potential continuation. Now, I did mention that, Bitcoin hitting higher levels right around 110, guys, and we're right there, is FOMO central. Right? That's the reality. We start breaking previous highs. We start, potentially squeezing those shorts that are at slightly higher levels. And if that happens, guys, we're going to get crazy emotional moments here in this space. However, if Bitcoin does get rejected again for the third or fourth time right into this region, it's not really good for the rest of the space, given the fact that we're starting to feel like that resistance is too strong. And it is very possible that that's the case. But, we're not breakout traders. I'm not a breakout trader, guys. I look for bottoms and I buy bottoms and sell tops. Right now, just be very careful with longs or even shorts. And we'll talk about that in the charts in a second. Let's kind of scrape through the top 100, take a look at what's really going on here. Bitcoin looking great, as I mentioned. Ethereum right now is amazing. It's up 6%. I can imagine that the dominance is coming down, given the fact that Ethereum is showing strength at the current moment, and some of the altcoins are doing amazing as well. As we scroll through, you can see, Ethereum, okay, fine. BNB is doing pretty good, breaking a higher high. That's what we want, a higher high. And as you see, Tron grinding to the upside as we see the market wake up. That gives me a sign of stable coin volume. Obviously, when we see Tron do well, there's something happening in the stable coin market, which is great. Ultimately, we have Doge waking up, and a lot of these, as you can see, I'm not going to go through them all. We're up approximately 5-10%, depending on the project you're looking at, as you can see. But ultimately, what's more important to me is the market structure. We did make a confirmation low, a lower low. Unfortunately, we did, and I'm talking about Bitcoin. But today, guys, we made a higher high. And that means that we basically dodged the bullet throughout the market. It could be perhaps that this is the moment where we start to see much higher levels. And nobody knows where we're going to go, guys. This is why I always say make sure you have a bullish and bearish thesis. Be prepared for all the scenarios, because at this range where we are right now with Bitcoin in this market, in the total market cap, it is time for max pain. I can imagine a lot of pain in the next little while. Longs and shorts getting wrecked in the last bit is a moment where you see the market capitulate not only via price action, but timing. Boring price action. As you can see, higher highs, many higher highs here. Chainlink not really breaking out, but still up 6.7%. I would love to see it break above the previous highs. Same thing with AVAX. It is 9% to the upside, which is awesome. But again, market structure, I want to see a higher high. But there are many higher highs right now. There are many throughout the market. If you kind of go sweep through, you can see there are a few that Aave is looking for its higher high at the current moment. BitTensor, not so much, although it's up 4.4%. It has a little bit of work to do to get its the higher high moment. And that's the name of the game, guys. Little by little, eventually we start breaking. VeChain doing the same thing. It's up 8%. Is it going to make a higher high? That is the question. We got a couple of projects looking really good. Everything Ethereum based is looking pretty awesome, to be honest. Rocket Pool ETH, as you can see. We have Bonk looking pretty good. What else do we have? Stacks waking up a little bit at previous high, 9%. So I would say good projects are up almost 10%. Mid projects, a few percent to the upside. But ultimately, guys, what a green day. So far, nice and green. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with Bitcoin, because at the end of the day, Bitcoin can give us a great indication what is yet to happen here in this space. So let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart. As you can see, Bitcoin is doing awesome. It's at previous highs. It's looking for a higher high. Is it going to get it? Nobody knows, but this is a breakout moment that we all should be looking at. Let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. Now, ultimately, what I would love to see, of course, is these highs being broken. And as I mentioned before, those are very critical levels. This is where you start to enter FOMO Central, right around this zone. Why? Because you start breaking tops, and then you get into price discovery real quick after a retracement, after picking up some bullish bids, after a little bit of emotion and, capitulation. That's usually where we kind of leave a lot of people behind in this market. Leaving people on the sidelines is a very, very painful scenario. And guys, based on social media, based on social engagement and volume in this market, a lot of people will be left behind if Bitcoin decides to fly, right? If it decides to run, and even more so, if Ethereum starts to run, guys, those OGs, me and you and I here that have been hanging around here in this space, accumulating alts, will definitely get our opportunity. But we need to see Ethereum do well, and we need to see Bitcoin hold strong. We can't see a Bitcoin dump. So far, we're doing okay. Now, let's get into lower time frames, because really there's nothing much to say here on the daily. We did get into the chop zone here. So far, we're holding support. Do we get overbought again? That's the question. Do we get overbought again? Do we hang out here in overbought conditions with regards to volatility? And as I mentioned in the live streams, it's very possible, as we have done it in the past. And usually when we're in bearish conditions, we stay overbought a little longer than we are oversold. So these are things that you got to consider nonetheless. All right, guys. So just keep that in mind. We got to be prepared. All right. So let's move on from that. Let's get on lower time frames, because ultimately I think lower time frames could give us a bit of an indication of what's happening in the immediate short term, because the volatility is definitely real. Now, you can see that I was preparing for this bottom right here. I had the green arrow, and I did make the video on Bitcoin a couple of days back, giving you that idea that ultimately this was a very important level of confluence. We had the EMA right here, the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour, on the 6-hour was very confluent as well. But more importantly, the volume gap. We fell through the volume gap, tagged the bottom of the volume gap, and bounced beautifully. And I told you guys, if we make a lower low and start breaking below this area, we're coming down. And I have the arrows here. I didn't put them in today. I put these in a few days back. So go scroll back on the channel and check out those videos if you want to really recap on my mindset as why I was thinking this way. But you can see the last line in the sand is always the most lucrative, because ultimately these are emotional levels. We got a confirmation low. We got a lower low very clearly. But guess what, guys? To confirm a market structure, I need a lower high. And that's why I was telling you guys that ultimately I was waiting for a reversal right into here. and it never happened. We got to that level and blew right past it. And I'm totally fine with that, guys. That's totally fine. If we hesitated here, I would drop to lower time frames, look for a sign of a reversal, build a position, and go short. But as soon as I started seeing this this come in, I was like, no, thank you. I'm rather wait, and this thing keeps on running. In fact, made a higher high. As you can see, made another higher high. Now, the bigger question now is this going to be a sustainable move? Meaning, are we going to structure out here? Maybe get into an exchange of hands? That would be awesome. Okay, let me just kind of make this a little bit bigger, because ultimately we see that momentum is looking for overbought conditions. We could get a bit of a mean reversion where we come back to the yellow line and then maybe continue to the upside. That is all very possible, so just keep that in mind. And we also have the EMAs facing up right now here on the trend oscillator. Let me just make this bigger so we can see it a bit better, and you'll see the trend oscillator right now. EMAs are facing up. Green histogram bar is looking pretty good. It's in a bullish stance, so you can see the green arrows, everything's looking pretty bullish right now on the 4-hour, in my opinion. Now, the worst case scenario is this, okay? Now, let's go back to market structure. The worst case scenario is this, is that we do not sustain this rally. We, in fact, retrace. We fall back below this horizontal. So I'm going to make this horizontal very thick now so we can define its importance, because we made it at the bottom. Look at the bottom level. Very clear. Look at that failure. Look at that swing failure, guys. Sweep, back test, basically no back test, back above horizontal levels, right within structure once again, at great volume levels, back to the top of the range. In fact, we are now above it. If we consolidate here, hold this level of support, it's not bad of a scenario. I wouldn't want a long consolidation, to be honest. I wouldn't. But it's okay if it does. I believe that what would happen here is that the consolidation would offload short-term traders and onboard longer-term traders, more bullish bids, and eventually look for the breakout above these two tops. And that exchange of hands is what's going to allow those bullish bids to come in with a bit more strength, to have that volume and that impulse to break above resistance. And little by little, that could happen. Now, if we do maybe we don't consolidate, maybe we backtest and bounce. That's also very possible. But the bigger worry for me, and for those of you that are long right now and bullish, is, again, it's so important that you have your bullish and bearish thesis, is that what about if we do retrace and we kind of roll over here and get into a bit of resistance? And I don't think it's going to be very evident on the 4-hour. I would drop to lower time frames, maybe the 1-hour, and start looking for a market structure that suggests pivot and reversal. If we fall below $108,600 and get back into this range once again, guys, this is literally whipsaw price action. This is one of the reasons why I don't like trading the chop zone. Is because the chop zone, as you go sideways, you get sweeps, longs and shorts get wrecked. Everybody gets destroyed. There's no winners here other than market makers. However, guys, if we do get that bullish instance where we start looking for a continuation, guys, that's what we need to prepare for. Essentially, that's what I'm looking at. Ultimately, can we stay above $108,600? Any evidence of that, even if we do get a structure, put a stop loss a little bit low below here and accumulate, and then let's see what happens. If we continue to the upside, great. If we don't, get yourself out. If it falls within the structure, it's most likely going to come down to the bottom of the range, and because it already broke through, it's likely to go for another attempt and come down for another lower low. But at the end of the day, guys, right now, as we speak, there's no reason to be bearish. We're back above. We made a higher high. This was a fake out, and maybe this one is too, but not confirmed as of now. And so far, so good, holding very steady. Now, of course, the Asia market's going to come in hot tonight and asking and basically giving us some indications of where the next steps are. But ultimately, right now, we are in the money across the space. All right, guys, let's take a look at what's going on with QUBIC. But before we look at the price action, I just want to lay out a bit of a foundation of what's happening with QUBIC. So let's visit X now. QUBIC right now is under a little bit of fire. So the founder came out and made a statement that wasn't the greatest. Let's put it that way. And I think it was, misconstrued a little bit, misunderstood. I think it was, not very well thought on his part either. I don't think his intention was to cause any harm or disrespect. But ultimately, what he basically said is that, QUBIC's algorithm, QUBIC's AI, is completely decentralized. Why? It's because if you ask other LLMs to depict Muhammad, for example, it will not be able to do it, or it doesn't do it. Okay, so in this case, where he's saying that QUBIC has that capability, and that means as a litmus test, using Muhammad would define whether a protocol has censorship or not, or an AI model has censorship or not. Guys, look, it wasn't the greatest idea. I don't think it was the greatest analogy. I think it would have been much better for him to come up with something else to speak about or use as an analogy, but I don't think that his intention was to cause harm. Again, what do I know? I'm just here to, show you what happened and what's actually potentially suppressing the cubic price at the current moment. But as we move forward, okay, this was a few days back. We got a little bit more information with regards to what's happening. Basically, he came out later on and said, and a few days later, basically said the next update on QUBIC will basically take into consideration Islamic rulings. So he's actually saying, look, maybe not apologizing because he feels that he didn't, come up, do anything wrong. It could be the case. I'm not here to judge, but ultimately he's saying, look, if this is the case, then why am I doing this? So this individual came out and saying, look, he didn't mean anything insulting towards Islam religion. He was just explaining that his AI Garth platform is fully decentralized. Look, not everybody's that eloquent, with the words, and maybe he was, poor choice of words and so on. But at the end of the day, right now, the Islamic community is not taking it. Now, I don't know if we can move past it, if they could move past it, but ultimately, when I look at these things, right, community is very, very important. But how does this affect the tech? Communities, with regards to volume, it's everything. But with regards to tech, it doesn't really mean much. So I think that this is a good step in the right direction in order to make, amends with the community, and maybe he could do a little bit more. Maybe he has, but ultimately, I think the tech is still solid, and I think that with a little bit of effort here, he could definitely patch things up with the community and move forward. Okay, if we've seen much worse, I've seen so much worse in this space with regards to FUD, and I think this could be overcome with a little bit of good faith, and hard on the sleeve type of thing scenario. All right, let's move on, guys. Let's see what's going on with the chart, with the QUBIC chart, because you can see it's being suppressed at the current moment, right? The rest of the market is pretty green, and obviously you see QUBIC struggling. QUBIC is an L1 that is dedicated towards AI. It's a proof of useful work. There's a lot of good, interesting things, proof of work mechanism that QUBIC has, and many of us are starting to really appreciate the old school implementations of UTXO models. And I think that QUBIC, as far as its implementation, has a lot to offer. Now, with regards to volume, you can see that there's nobody here. There's nobody here, guys. Now, I don't know if this FUD or this issue is the reason or not, but it's definitely within a structure that hasn't caught any bids today, where the rest of the market is catching bids. So the question is it oversold? Is it right now in a scenario where maybe it's not going to catch any bids? But the concern is this range. If we cannot break above this range and next bearish impulse comes in for Bitcoin, there's no doubt in my mind that this thing won't dip, because it hasn't showed any strength to the upside lately or today where it really mattered. When we're seeing the rest of the space, ETH, right as I speak right now, is up 7.5%, which is great, and many other projects are doing good, while QUBIC is at the bottom of its range with catching zero bids. Now, all of a sudden, we get a bearish response out of the market, which would be normal, of course, peaks and valleys, ebbs and flows. But because QUBIC has no buffer and hasn't moved from its bottom, on the next bearish impulse, we're coming down, guys. And that's not a good look. So if this doesn't act like a level where we spring, this is just temporary. And ultimately, we start falling. We do have imbalances right here. We do have a bit of node of volume to protect that could act as a bit of support. But the complete invalidation is down here. If we start making lower lows after a retracement, QUBIC's going to have a hard time. And then once it gets down here, the market generally wants to see a floor price, which usually, for me, a floor price takes time, a couple of weeks, at least to go sideways and give me a little bit of indication that there's no more sell pressure and so on. But ultimately, guys, this is what I'm really worried about, okay? Because the market right now, or the community right now, looks like to have really, put a bit of pressure on QUBIC, and at the same time you can see that QUBIC's not responding to the bullish conditions in the market. So be very careful out here. Now we do see a bit of Class C bearish divergence. It's not the strongest, but it's pretty much there. Double top, let's say, on price action, lower highs on momentum, a little bit of divergence. This is slightly higher, so maybe not that strong of a Class C, but it still looks a little sloppy. And what I don't like is this expansion coming in. I can't believe that I'm talking about a bearish chart on such a bullish day. But it's so important to talk about and to keep an eye on the opportunities, because this definitely could be opportunity. And I'm going to tell you why. Because this is the best risk to reward ratio scenario you're ever going to get right now. Right? Like this right here, you put your stop loss, you go long and see what happens. And that's the reason why I focus on these random scenarios, is because those are usually where I can catch an edge. If we do get oversold here, guys, this thing's going to break down. I'm telling you that. EMAs here on the daily are facing down and red histogram bars are coming in. So the question is, do we go long into here? It's very difficult, guys, because sentiment-wise, we should be going long, but you can see the market's not having it. Here, the QUBIC market. Now, you can see we're trying to hesitate here, got slightly oversold, nothing major. EMA's facing up, it definitely trying to get a little bit more oversold. Do we get a bullish response out of this, a bearish response out of this bullish response? As you can see, maybe we do come down for another leg. This is where things get hectic, okay? Very, very hectic. Now, again, it's all about position size. Super important to understand that position size matters. And what I'm saying here is that a little bit of a spot long or spot position is not bad of a scenario. Not bad, because you know that this could be potentially a bottom. But if we get into an extension where we start falling, let's use Fibonacci's for a second. Let's take a look at what kind of retracement we can expect. Let's use these lows to swing highs. Golden pocket is right here, 786, and so on. We can get down to 886, which is this bottom. 786, 886 zone looks healthy for support. Now, from an extension perspective, swing low to swing high, wrong tool. Give me a second. This is not the tool I'm looking for. If I can get rid of this. Oh, there we go. Let me just quickly get the other one. If we take the swing low to the swing high, and maybe if we get rid of this Fibonacci, because that kind of showed me retracement, you can see that the 1.618 is very confluent, the extension level, the 1.27, all into this level. This is what I would be looking for, right into here. And that would be healthy extension level from this low to this high as a breakdown. And it's very confluent with this bottom and obviously the Fibonacci's retracement and so on. So this would be a much healthier zone to see if it goes to that level, to put a bit of a buy order or prepare for a market structure down here that suggests reversal to go back to the upside. Because if not, guys, things get hectic if it falls below these bottoms. As at the current moment, guys, QUBIC is looking a little interesting, but not necessarily in a bullish perspective. It's almost in a worry perspective. Below the 200 daily like this, getting rejected with the FUD that has on board, guys, not a good look. All right, guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.